Hello everybody, this is Dr. Novak. In this video I'm going to give you at the very end here of this video, I'm going to show you a person who took logs on having his tank break in and dealing with new tank syndrome. Okay, but what we're looking at here is three test kits. We're looking at Lamont, we're looking at a color meter, and then we're looking at a nitrate test kit from API. The HANA test kit, these are all nitrate test kits. And I will give a link below to the guy you're looking at here off to the left, GV Aquarium Australia. He does tests on about 7 different nitrate test kits. And you won't believe the results he was getting from all these different test kits, because you know the hobbyist test kits sometimes aren't the most accurate of test kits. But anyhow, when I tested out the color meter here, I tested it to the Lamont. Now the Lamont is going to be your standard test kit. Your ichthyologist, limnologist, your DVMs who deal in fish, your fish farms, your koi farms are all going to be used probably a Lamont test kit because of its accuracy and its reliability. It's not an inexpensive test kit, but it is one that you can depend on to give you the correct reading when you need it. And it's used by professionals all over. So, and I compared it to Lamont, compared it to the HANA and to the API, and the HANA and then Lamont really are very close in their results. Very, very close. I mean, within a point or two, which is not going to make a hill of beans. The Lamont test kit here has it's liquid. It has your tester, your Lamont here, your nitrate N test here. It is a very nicely comparator. It's very easy to read. You put it up to light, you read it. Some of the chemicals in here though are poison. It will state that they are poison, so I can understand where a hobbyist would not want to buy one of these, because you don't want children to get into it. It has to be taken away. But compare the two test kits, the API to the HANA to the Lamont. I came up with very decent results, because I knew that whatever the Lamont read, the other two should read. And I did notice, even though this is a marine, some people have made comment that, oh, it doesn't test the same. But you know, the API tests both for marine and freshwater. Did you know that? They just give you a chart, but the colors are so close together, it's almost hard to even tell between the saltwater and the freshwater on the API. But testing both of these test kits, the Lamont and the HANA, they're very accurate. They're right, almost right there on the money. So I like the HANA a little better. It's easier, and I think you will like it. But anyhow, let's get into the video. But if you want to watch about how inaccurate a lot of these test kits are, go ahead and give a look-see to GV Aquariums in Australia, which he does all these tests, and you're going to realize that what's going on with these tests. But the two I have here, the Lamont and the HANA, are very accurate, and you can pretty well trust them if you use them on your aquarium to find out about nitrates. All right, the first test page shows here home tap water test, and of course he's testing the chlorine or chloramine in here, and he's using Aquarium Co-op, and he's using another SJ Wave test strips. These SJ Wave you can buy off of Amazon. Anyhow, he makes a statement here, as you can see by his chart, which is interesting. And one test, he literally takes out of the tap, and the other test, he actually puts the water in a container and then aerates it for 24 hours. And of course, he does state, I have a difficult time reading S&J Wave test strips. color blocks on strips don't match chart clearly. Well, we all can contest to that. The color charts aren't what we want. We're guessing sometimes in between colors, right? I measured 3 times on each water sample to get as true a number as I can, and then he's going to retest everything in a few weeks. But this is his results with some of the test kits. Right away, he's admitting that he's having problem even reading these test strips. So something to think about. But let's continue on with what he sent me. Okay, in the next page, it's his tank diary. And what he did is he rebuilt his aquarium using undergravel filter, which is a plenum. Tank rebuilt was on 1/21/22. Added a Lee's undergravel filter, very low bubble flow, so he made a plenum. I added a fluval light following settings for small tanks on auto, okay? And he's showing his different water parameters, which I think is very interesting for all of us to see this. So I'm not hiding anything from my audience. This is typical behavior for my tank. 24 hours after a water change on 1/22/22 days test, ammonia stayed low, but it normally does not. On 12-24 hours, the tank normally can see ammonia rise to 0.25 parts per million on the API test. On this day, ammonia did not rise. I'll test again tomorrow and plan for a 50% water change then. Recently, I have learned that this may be because of new tank syndrome, and that could be very well. You just set up a tank. Usually, if you try to prevent that new tank syndrome, you can normally add like an API has it where you can add it, or Fritzzyme 7 to help establish your aquarium faster. And it does seem to work. And you can kind of bypass that new tank syndrome being so bad. Okay, now let's get into the tank water testing. As you can see on his test on 1/22/22, it looks like he thinks he has ick. 2 white spots are on the head of his betta, and he has a betta in his aquarium. 1/23, he checks again, same 2 spots. No noticeable spread. I ordered X from Co-op on 1/22/22. I will see if I can raise water temperature to 80 degrees. It's usually if you get ick of any sort, it's good to raise the water temperature up to about 85 degrees. Okay, what all that will do is speed up the cycle of the parasite. It speeds it up. So if you put any chemical in there, it will react and kill the parasite in its free swimming state. Okay. Usually if the parasite is on the fish, it can't be killed. But once the parasite leaves to divide off the fish, it's easy to kill. So you raise the temperature, speeds up the cycle of the parasite, and it's a lot easier to kill. Ammonia is holding at 0. This is an improvement, 1/23/22. Let's see. And then he goes in talking about his betta, how it refuses to swallow pellets or flake, because there could be something going on with that. You could read it if you want. I took fish photos of white spot that I thought were ick. I emailed them to Aquarium Co-op. I spoke with Candy over there. She responded very quickly with her diagnosis. Candy said that it didn't look like ick. She said it also doesn't look like a fungus. Candy recommended adding Terminalia catappa leaves, which are also known as the almond leaves that you can use in your aquarium. So I added a bunch of catappa. I will keep photos in the file. Um, that's to me that's a little shocking. Why, if your fish is having a problem, why you would add leaves, which aren't going to help anything. They're not going to stop any disease or anything else. Usually it's going to change the environment of which I'm getting tongue-tied here, people, which the fish is living in. And that's a little strange to me because, like my betta, for example, in my betta container, I'm using the plenum, and I'm using, of course, all kitty litter and stuff. And the temperatures go down very low in the room it's in to like 71, and the betta's doing just fine, no problems at all, eating like a champ. So would I recommend catappa leaves? No. I'm sorry. That to me, that's not good advice. It sounds like you're just trying to sell a product to somebody who doesn't know better. What are they really going to do? Especially if you have a fish that you're concerned about. Leaves may make buffer number to drop. Okay, that's why they added the leaves. But to be honest with you, dropping the buffer number is not going to help the betta. Not really. And that's not his problem. But anyhow, let's go on to the next page. Okay. The only reason I said that with the last slide I showed is because bettas are usually pretty flexible. They're not caught in the wild, and they can adapt to just about any kind of water conditions you give them. And like I said, the water here in Florida is extremely hard, a lot of calcium in it. Okay, anyhow, in this slide that we're looking at here, on 1/24/22, can't believe it, 24 hours since last water change, and the water is perfect. So, that this kind of shows us that patience, once again, pays out. Seeing black spot on plant leaves, it rubs off. Could be algae or dirt. I ordered 2 Nitrate tiger snails to help his clean up algae. He ordered 2 of those. If you can order snails like that, another snail you can order too is just your common mystery snail. Will do it. Or you can do trapdoor snails. Will even have a tendency to want to eat, believe it or not, blackbeard algae. Trapdoor snails will. But anyhow, let's see. Richard the Red health update, 1/24/22. Spots are still there. They're not as white. The spots look more pink. He's probably talking about his fish now. But I do see more of them, starting from his head to the beginning of his dorsal fin along his back. I still have catappa leaves in the tank at present, and still using them. If I was to guess, it looks like he is rubbing on something. Could very well be. You'd have to look at the fish a lot closer. You're just going off of what he's saying. Okay. He does, he says he added a digital thermometer to it. 60% water change, 1/25/22. Fertilize, went to do 1, but did 2 squirts. Oops, 1/25/22. Spots are still there, but I think they are looking better. Let's see, tried fluval bug bites, still won't eat them. I'm thinking of not feeding until he eats them. I did give him brine tonight. Fish stores have not been helpful. sometimes what I have noticed is sometimes your temperature, when bettas are starting to show something, it's usually could be water conditions, of course, but it could be also temperature is getting a little too low for them because they are from the tropics. But this is what I have noticed. So the betta seems to have a little bit of a problem, but he is doing water changes. And another thing is it's bad to really use a betta to break in an aquarium. And now I'm one to talk, right? I broke my aquarium with bettas, but I also use the API and put it in the um, fish tank that I have my bettas in, that I used that. And then when I did a water change, I added some more of the API. And I did that for a couple of the water changes, added that to add bacteria into that tank so the betta wouldn't go into any kind of a shock. But anyhow, this is his next page. I'll go into his next page with what he found out. Okay, on this page, he asks a question on 12622. Why is nitrates going up so fast? It's been 24 hours since last 60% water change. Need to get an answer to this. Just learned that 55 parts per million may not be high. Need more info on this. And he gives a spots are still on there. He's talking about the leaves. And at this point, I'll update if I see a change. And I guess he's talking about the fish. Spots are still on there. I'm guessing. It's not real clear. And then he says in a footnote or a note that still seeing black spots on plant leaves, suspected algae, water sprite is turning brownish at the tips of the leaves. Okay. And he says he gets more snails. He says, cut down tube on plenum. Need to add more substrate. I will slowly over time. And that was on 127.22. 45% water change. Number 2, 45% water change, 127.22. Plenum bubbles are too big. I had to drill hole in top. I was successful. Bubbler is now better. That was a lot of work. And then he tests his water again. His temperature is 76.8. Okay, tank water test. On 129.22, just learned that all the fertilizer I'm adding could be increasing nitrates. One pump on the Easy Green fertilizer is good for 10 gallons. I do at least one pump every water change on my 5-gallon. Then he has that's very common. You're adding sometimes fertilizers when you should not in a brand new tank be adding fertilizers. Okay, very common problem, especially for a lot of newbies on brand new tanks, especially if you're not using CO2. There's a lot of what can I say? A lot of ifs there when aquarium keeping on trying to add too much of a good thing. Sometimes you think you're doing something good when actually you're compounding your problems. Okay, note on 129.22, nitrate is up to 0.25. I don't know exactly if this number is high or not. I'll have to research that. Normally I would do a water change, but continuously water changing is not going to work for me long term. I'll see where these numbers land tomorrow. Probably do a water change then. This tank needs to go a week without a water change. It is possible that nitrate has not been converted to nitrate. I read that right, yeah. It is possible that nitrate has not been converted to nitrate, and maybe by tomorrow this will change. Okay, that's what it reads. Then he has another note, 130.22. Nitrite seems to have gone down on its own. I'm shopping for a stronger table to place the tank on. Okay, so let's see. So you can see his problems that he's having with keeping track of everything, which is pretty common. As you can see, his nitrates are down to 10. He keeps doing water change after water change. Uh, you have to let your tank cycle. That's one thing that everybody learns. Just let your tank do what it's supposed to do. And doing so many water changes, sometimes it's a good thing, but sometimes it can also be too much of a good thing. Anyhow, I'm going to show you pictures of his tank and his bubbler and everything else, what he did. As you can see, though, the whole point I'm showing you this video is not only did he keep pretty good detail of his aquarium and his test, and we're seeing everything, what he did. There's nothing to hide here. I'm not hiding anything, but you can see where people go into problems. And when they go into problems, sometimes they can overreact on certain things. They are sold certain products that don't need to be sold to them. And this is very common in this hobby. Okay, here's some photographs, and I'll show you some more of his particular aquarium. You can see where he has the plenum with a very sharp uplift tube, how he made the plenum underneath the gap underneath it. Actually, the tank doesn't look very, very bad. It's only a little 5-gallon aquarium. And, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, it's a shame when I see something like this, that people are struggling, having so many problems. That's why I try to tell you on my channel, like, you could probably avoid a lot of these problems if you just would go get some Fritzine or some API off the shelf. You can get API right off the shelf of any PetSmart, and that can help a lot if you can't seed your aquarium with another aquarium. Really, I know it's expensive. I'm not going to admit it is not expensive buying some of these starters, aquarium starters, as they call it. But unfortunately, they can save you a big headache in the long run where you're not doing so many water changes. Like on my Betta container, for example, I only did a water change like once a week, you know, through this spigot, and that was about it. I didn't really worry about it because none of the fish were doing bad. Nothing was going wrong. There was no ammonia spikes, no spike, even though the substrate was absolutely brand new. The only thing I could say had bacteria on it was the plants I put into the aquarium. But other than that, no, none of these problems. And you can see that people try very hard, but especially with new tank syndrome. And that's what you're having. You're having this new tank. You're putting these plants in. You're trying to do your best. You're starting to get algae problems. You're buying these snails and trying to solve the problem through that. But right away, people don't understand that sometimes you may have to get algae eaters to kind of help you out more than, and you may need more than 1 or 2 snails. Okay, that's why I like going to the mom and pop store. You may need some, mystery snails, let's say. Buy 7 of them, buy 8 of them. You got a new tank. Let them start eating up that food that you're making available to them with this new tank, going through its changes. And of course, we could see through his diary here and his tests that, yeah, he has all the new tank problems. He's doing a lot of water changes. I'm sure he's getting sick of it. I would get sick of it. Believe me, I wouldn't do all the water changes he's doing. I would have set up the tank, maybe put some API in there, maybe a week later, do a, 10%, 20% water change, add a little bit of more API in there, and let the thing go a while. Watch the fish, see the spots, if you need to raise your temperature. I would have done things a lot different. But being new to the hobby, that's why I want to show you this video. I'm not beating up on Richard or anything, but this is typical new hobbyists fighting for their lives when they set up a simple little 5-gallon tank. I set up a tank. I don't even think twice about it, how I set it up, because I know there are procedures to take so you have a successful aquarium and you're not fighting for your life. Basically, that's what this video is to show, that this is typical of newcomers coming in to the hobby, and they start asking all kinds of questions because they're having trouble. And sometimes sometimes all the good they're doing is not doing as good as they think it should be doing. Because I don't have a magic wand. I showed you how I set up my betta container. Really, I had no problems with it. I had no problems with the fish. None of the fish got sick, and everything's doing great. I don't have a magic wand. It's because I know what to do. I know the procedures to take. I know how I'm setting it up. Boom, 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 one thing after another. Put some plants in there. Okay, I know what to expect. How long you're going to leave on the lights, what to expect, how deep to make the substrate. Leave the fertilizers out of the aquarium. I've been doing that. And that's why I guess I have less problems. Where a lot of newcomers, they're pumping in fertilizers, and right away these fertilizers are going to start throwing off the balance of your aquarium immediately. But, all you can do is just tell people so much, and then after that, they're just going to do what they want to do. They just think I gotta add fertilizers to my aquarium because I don't want my plants to die. Well, they're not going to die. And don't forget, you're going through a tank that needs to be broken in. Like I explained in one of my videos, it may take months before that aquarium finally settles down and breaks in. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed Richard's log that he made. He made a very detailed log about the problems he was having, all the water changes, the nitrate problems, the nitrite problems, the ammonia problems. But all this is related to new tank syndrome, a lot of this. And sometimes, I don't know, using a betta for the break a tank is not, to me, the wisest choice. It's not the healthiest of fish to break in an aquarium unless you really know what you're doing. So anyhow, that's it for this video. Until next time, this is Dr. Novak. Happy fish keeping, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because we have people sending me in pictures of their aquarium, how they set them up, what they're using, and that will be coming up. I have a lot of people sending stuff in. I want to thank everybody for doing that. And until next time, happy fish keeping.